Hey, thanks everybody for joining us today for creating an HCM roadmap. My name is Richard Lee Stout.
I am Melissa Olson. And we're going to go through, building out what you need to start planning for the next, 1 to 3-ish years. And we'll tell you how to get it done.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the agenda. Lee's going to hit why, what the important opportunity is. We'll hit the how to build a roadmap. And then we'll hit another kind of a why, which is, why do you need a future proof and what can you continue to do to keep it up to date?
Beyond replacing a legacy HRIS system, what are the goals of implementing Infor HR Talent? Maybe to improve process efficiency and data visibility, or consolidate various systems and digitize paper processes? Well, how about enhance customer service, provide a better workplace for your employees, to recruit and retain star performers? All of these goals are achievable on the Infor Cloud Suite platform, but the initial implementation may be just the first step in realizing these goals.
So, as Lee was saying, there's all these opportunities with HR talent. There's a lot of applications though. So how do you need to determine what order, when to do them, why to do them? So the biggest reason is visibility for your organization. We'll go into a lot of organizations, and IT has one project going and HR has another, and neither of them are talking to each other about needing resources from each other's team. So, your organization understands what is out there for all, and this, really would work for a technology roadmap across all applications and an organization. It helps you determine the prioritization order. So as you see everything laid out, really where do you want to kind of fit things based on your organization's needs? And then it helps everybody who knows what the priority is to actually focus on that one goal of whether it's an initiative, a project, or an actual implementation of software.
Let's take a look at some of the common projects and initiatives that we're seeing on our clients' roadmaps. The first one I want to talk about is what can be the largest project on many clients' roadmaps, and that is completing a migration to the multi-tenant cloud. All of the exciting things we're hearing about with enterprise automation, hyper productivity, that's all happening on the multi-tenant platform. As many of our clients know, this is a large project that takes a lot of attention, and sometimes it can be difficult to stay focused on the why when the how is so challenging. Well, containing the scope to focus on core structures and migrating existing loss and functionality will make it easier to stick to project schedule. We recommend planning sufficient time to complete this project with some buffer for post-live stabilization. What's stabilization, right? Stabilization optimization can include resolving issues, completing day 2 items, taking advantage of new capabilities that have been released since the project started. A lot of clients implement and then stay there. We need to look back at what features may have been introduced later in the project that could not be adopted for go live. We need to look back at what features may have been introduced later in the project that were not able to be adopted for go live. As an example, one of the most common pain points is usability. How easy is it for people to use the system? The portal has a more straightforward navigation that improves usability. We could go back and look at things like our notifications, our approval strategy, align our technical development to improve usability. Maybe we have multiple inboxes in use that we want to consolidate or take advantage of the new approval matrix in FSM. Infor is always evolving, and so should our deployment of Infor Cloud Suite.
It's a really good point, because a lot of times when people put in configurations or configurations, they don't realize that new functionality is released and could replace it and go back and take it out, what happens when you continuously keep those configurations on.
Exactly. We have clients that can amass a large amount of configurations that all made sense at the time, but taken as a whole maybe aren't the best solution and may have already been deprecated by new releases of Infor software. So doing a configurations review and audit is a great part of an optimization initiative.
Another type of project would be, you'll see I'm going to have some initiative-driven projects and then some efficiency-driven projects. So again, when you're road mapping, some things may be initiatives that are supporting organizational goals or supporting new processes, and some efficiency-driven goals will just mainly be, we'll talk about it, but anything to consolidate software or make your processes a little cleaner. So one of the initiative-driven projects, that we're seeing with clients is really ensuring to fully utilize the employee self-service portals, anything that's employee-driven to be able to capture more data into the system. More data, the better analytics, better reporting. So we've got, automating some of your transactions. If you're not using manager space today, consider putting that on your roadmap. Some of the approvals, easier ways to go through than going into your basket or your inbox and finding and opening things up. You're able to create some one-touch approvals with technology that Leigh alluded to earlier. And really just kind of free up your HR team to be able to create programs and have customer service for employees like in real life, as opposed to, just processing data, working tickets, or, anything that gets you away from that traditional human resources department, which is really to help your employees. And then on the flip side, your employees are more engaged. We see a lot of turnover in organizations, and it really, they're going to do the same job, but if they can do it where they can have a better employee experience and an easier way to access their human resources, benefits, payroll information, that that could be a driver. We don't really think about that, but how we interact with systems, and people are so used to having their phones on them and being able to get to everything from their phone.
Yeah,
bank
absolutely.
balances. This weekend we were trying to buy something that had a high amount, and we needed our bank to say yes. We could not get a hold of a human being to process or approve the transaction for us. So and we hated having to call someone. And I think, a lot of people are starting to feel like that as kind of generations move in and out of the workplace. They want that.
Right.
Just self-service
as
experience.
Members of the younger generation, we understand we also hate to have to call someone when I can take care of something easily on my phone.
Mm-hmm. Another initiative-driven project here is, again, we talked about more data to get more visibility into your employee workforce. So, turning on those qualifications, really understanding the skills and the certifications that your whole workforce has, not necessarily the ones that require those skills and certifications. So it does help with planning. We've experienced all this disruption in the last 3 years, and if you could be more agile with your workforce and move them around based on whatever economic factors or health factors that are going on that we don't know, that can turn 2024 into 2020.
Don't say it.
I know, sorry. We can edit that one out. Then you have that visibility to be able to just push your workforce wherever it's needed. You have an understanding of who can be remote. You have an understanding of people that might be able to fill positions where others have left. And you need a plan for what kind of data is actually meaningful for you. So it's not about just slamming everything in that the system can take, but what is it that you really need to solve? And start building that data up so you start having that repository for analytics. And then just going back to the qualifications, don't have to boil the ocean. You can just chunk things out, use competency groups, leverage competency models, and start pushing things out today. And your roadmap may look like 3 years to get most of your positions and people completed, but at least you'll have an idea of, when you'll have it fully realized. Then we're going to hit one of our efficiency-driven projects. So we're hearing a lot about workforce management.
Yeah.
We are doing some workforce management projects, and what we're seeing is it's really nice to kind of pair with your payroll implementations, and then you have all of your data in an Infor system, if that is one of the edicts for your organization.
Yeah. Infor, as it turns out, offers a best-of-breed timekeeping and attendance system, and there are some large benefits to having timekeeping functionality in the same system as payroll, as well as designing both of those systems simultaneously.
Exactly. So if you're on UKG, there is an end of life coming up. Workforce Central will be decommissioned in 2026. So if you're looking at upgrading your UKG system, you might as well look at WFM as well. It has changed and evolved a lot in the last 4 to 5 years. So if you looked at it and demoed it in the past, it's a different product than what you saw then. It's a good opportunity to take a look.
Yeah, absolutely.
And like we said, let's start taking advantage of all the functionality that's in your HR talent system. It has all of the applications that generally organizations will use third party to manage, such as performance reviews or succession planning. And we see job descriptions in a third party where it comes over to talent acquisition system. So as your contracts for these third party systems start expiring, another reason to think about putting these applications on your roadmap, consolidate. If you're on the multi-tenant cloud, all of those are part of the package. You're not licensing software separately. Yeah. So
that's the great thing about the Infor HR Talent platform. It has such a breadth of functionality that it just doesn't make sense to have numerous point solutions for things like job descriptions or performance appraisals, when you can bring that functionality right into the same system that your core HR structures are, and allow those structures to sort of power the various talent applications.
And then we have economy of scale. It's leveraging those testing cycles. If you're doing WFM, do it with your payroll, or if you're moving to payroll, think about doing a time and attendance. Mm-hmm. You're putting a couple of applications together. You're taking time out of your day and your team's days to be able to validate and test. You might as well try and get the biggest bang for your buck.
Yeah.
And get some applications up in a shorter runway. But again, your roadmap will let you know what you're able to handle. And we'll talk a little bit about resourcing those in a bit.
Yeah.
And next efficiency-driven project here that we're seeing a lot of organizations show interest in is around their data visibility. Analytics are getting bigger at this point. Before, we used to see just list reports. It was very passive. Sometimes it's like, okay, I'm going to create this report and pass it out, or it's reactive, or somebody's asking me for just past data and I'm giving it to them. But today we're able to start storing all of that data and process it to see patterns, to help your organization make decisions about your workforce. So what do we want to do with this? Do we trust it? A lot of times we go to organizations and they say, we don't even trust our data because we converted history in that didn't map correctly. And we thought we wanted everything in one system, but it turns out because S3 data, some of it just doesn't, map easily to the transformations that you're doing. That data is pretty much invalid. So you want to understand where those points are, be able to create those filters. And then, when you're planning, if you haven't gone to the multi-tenant cloud or you haven't gone to GHR, think about archiving that data. You'll still be able to hit it for historical or analytic reporting, but at least it stays in the formatted method that it is most meaningful.
Yeah. And there's a trade-off when moving to a new system and having the opportunity to restructure your organizational units to better model your organization in the new system. And that trade-off is it makes it very challenging to do trend analysis across that system implementation timeline. You end up with an apples to oranges comparison. I think what we see is organizations that are really investing in their future want to get those Infor HR Talent core structures correct and set them up for organizational growth over the next 20 years, and take advantage of all the new HR analytics moving forward that are using the common data model that's delivered with Infor Cloud Suite.
And again, day one, your analytics, unless you're mapping to some other systems, your analytics are probably not going to be where you want them. But more data, the more the time passes, and this is when you'll be able to start seeing, what am I missing, and put those projects on the roadmap to get the data that you're missing into the system for really a meaningful, actionable analytic.
Yeah,
plan.
Business intelligence has always been about continuous improvement.
Okay.
Let's take a look at the roadmap process. How do we go about helping a client create a roadmap? It starts, as with most assessment type activities, with a current state analysis, creating a vision of the future state, and defining some outcomes that we expect to see once we've reached the end of our roadmap. So let's get into the individual steps that we use. We've done a number of client road mapping exercises, and we have a bit of a methodology that we can share. The first step, of course, is to start breaking down into individual projects what the various initiatives and end state, desired end state is. How do we reach that end state, and how do we define some individual projects that are going to get us there? For each project, we want to create a list of benefits as well as risks. Benefits might be improving efficiency, but risks might be dependencies or possible lack of resources to achieve that project on schedule within the time that we want to do it. Once we have our individual projects mapped out, we want to define the expectations or requirements for completion of each. So basically set up our success criteria. And then we can start arranging all of those projects on an overall timeline, right? A lot of organizations have very ambitious goals for getting the most out of the software, and there can be a tendency to want to do everything all at once. But we all know there's a limit to the amount of things that we can take on simultaneously. We have to be conscious of the time of our different HR leaders and staff who are balancing everyday work, as well as the IT teams that are supporting these projects.
And that's a good point, because we're talking about just your HR roadmap here, your HCM roadmap, but hopefully the rest of your organization will have, your other departments will have their own roadmaps. If they don't, you should, show them this video or get them to create theirs, and everybody can kind of overlay and see where are those resources being used, where are the best. Yeah. A lot of organizations don't have a benefit of a PMO that will prioritize IT resources for the organization. So, you want to be able to help do that by understanding where your projects fit in the big grand scheme of things.
That's an excellent point. I mean, we're focusing on Infor software today, but a comprehensive roadmap takes into account all of the major projects that are going to compete for time and resourcing at an organization.
Okay, so you've built your roadmap, and you don't just kind of put it in a drawer or save it to, drive somewhere, share a drive somewhere, and never look at it again after month one or year one. You do want to be able to evolve and stay relevant. So, allow for some milestones in there. We've done, as you said, a lot of road mapping, and sometimes everything just lines up right after each other. Yeah. And that really doesn't give time for that optimization. You think about moving into a house and buying all your furniture on the first day before you realize how you're going to live in the house and move around the house. So you want to live there for a little while and be able to have some time to go back and reevaluate your processes, reevaluate how you set things up. So put in some stabilization. You talked about that at the beginning of the presentation. Take your critical and customer updates. Those should be in your roadmap. We often forget. We never forget that we need them, but we often forget to plan for them, because it's always exciting to have new functionality and not stay
exactly
relevant.
And with Infor's new twice yearly update model, that certainly makes it a lot easier for clients to plan major projects around.
And then you want to just kind of keep an eye on those new releases and see what functionality might you want to turn on and turn off configurations if you've created a process that supported what you needed without the functionality, or new projects that you wanted, or new functionality you want to turn on, because you want to look at the downstream effects. Just don't flip that toggle and test. You might have a lot of dependencies on some fields, some reporting, some integrations that you might have to put in a roadmap a good chunk of time to untangle, to turn on some new functionality. And then again, constantly assess. Do you want to rearrange the furniture, right? And think about all the trends that you're reading about today. Right now, it's AI, it's machine learning. Continuous performance is a big trend in the HR space instead of annual focal reviews. So understand, where the industry is going, and then look at the functionality that Infor has that may support those trends. So you can just kind of stay at the forefront of human resources industry kind of standards. Yeah. And we talked about this last one here. There's constantly disruptions in our world that have affected the workplace like never before. So, while we can't plan for them and put them on our roadmap, we have to have the data and the visibility into our workforce to be able to react to them.
Thank you so much for joining us today to talk about HCM road mapping. If you'd like to learn more, please reach out. Melissa and I are both available and happy to talk to you about your HCM road mapping objectives at your organization.